Okay.
Welcome, Mr. Kian Lawley.
Hello, everybody.
Woohoo! Yay! I think you're cut off anyways. Oh, hi.
Thank you for having me. So
Yeah.
excited to be here.
Are you scary?
Am I scary? That's something for everyone else to decide.
Okay, are you scared?
Scared?
Nerdy?
No, I'm, when you gave me the wine, I knew it was gonna be a good time. Well, after I saw the therapist chairs and the 3 weird candles, I feel like I know the vibe now.
The therapist chairs.
I like 'em.
guess you could say that.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, today I have Kian Lawley with me. I guess you could call him a YouTuber, content creator, actor. One of the funniest guys I know. I don't know if it's the funniest person I know, but
Am I top 5?
probably, yeah.
Top 3?
Yeah.
Top 2?
I don't know, actually. You're funny. You're a pretty funny guy.
Thank you. Okay.
Well, first of all, welcome to Over the Surface.
Thank you. I'm so
My
glad
new
to be here
talk
over the
show.
surface.
You are Over the Surface.
Yeah, and I found out why it was called Over the Surface, and I think it's a really cool idea.
Thank you.
Yeah, I like the name.
So I start off, I don't want to say interview, I like to call it more of a conversation. I start off every conversation asking my guest one very, very simple question. And you can take as long as you want to answer it, any way you want. If you need to sit there for 10 hours, go for it, okay?
Okay, this might be a long episode.
All right, are you ready? You want to take a sip of wine?
Yes, there's air in these chairs.
You ready for the question?
Yes.
Do you love yourself?
I knew it was gonna be a big question like that, Franny. Initially, like off the bat, I want to say yes, just because like I don't not love myself. There are parts of me that I want to fix. There are parts of me that like I regret, unfortunately. There are parts of me that I want to like enhance. There are parts of me that I wish I can like take out and put a new piece back in. There are parts of me that are like I don't love, like my insecurities. I don't love my insecurities, but I do love my insecurities. I don't know. It's a very big question, but I think overall I would say yes. It's an easy question to answer if you're like, you know, getting interviewed by one of those drunk guys at a bar at like 2 a.m. like on TikTok. Do you love yourself? And you're like, yeah, I love myself. Yeah. It's easy to say yes, but like sitting and talking like over the surface level kind of thing. Yeah, it's like, it's a big, deep question. I would say yes, percentage wise. I would say 100%, but then if I dove deep, I would say like, somewhere in the 90s, something like an A, you know.
Okay. I mean, I can see that. I mean, I do get a very confident energy from you. I feel like you know who you are and what you want to do. And I think you're good at that. You're good at like sticking to your way. And I feel like you're really good at not letting people like make you like change, which I think does show self-love because you're really confident in like what you know. But like a perfect example is like when we go out and you're like, no, I'm gonna leave. And everyone's like, wait, why? You're like, no, I'm gonna leave. I don't want to be here.
No, I'm gonna leave. I want to do that.
You're just like, I want to go home because I'm done here, you know. And I think that does show self-love.
Yeah,
in a
like
weird way.
I'm worrying
you're
about
sure
myself.
Of yourself. Yeah, you are sure of what you want to do.
Yeah, I was gonna say yes. Like I love myself. Obviously, at the beginning of your question, I said there are parts of me that I want to change. But what you just said, like that confidence thing, it's such a huge part in like loving yourself because not only is it like, do I look good? Okay, yes, no. Is it like, do I feel good? Am I mentally okay? Like, do I love myself enough to put myself in a situation, take myself out of this situation, do stuff for other people, do stuff for myself? Because I think being selfish in moderation is a form of self-love.
Yeah.
Like in that case where I'm somewhere I don't want to be. Do I love myself enough to like go home and just like take care of myself?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So I think that confidence thing that you brought up was like really
and
really
I see that in you a lot. So if we take it back a little bit, I think I did my research right. You started YouTube when you were 14?
2010, I think I was
or 12?
13 or 14, yeah.
I would say that's a pretty like impressionable time in your life, right? You're
for sure.
entering high school. Do you think at that age when you started, you know, social media at that time, do you think your self-love has changed a lot from before social media happened to transitioning to it, I guess, and to now, like being on social media for, I want to say 10 plus years, you know?
You're making me feel so old, Franny. Damn, dude. Yeah, 10 plus years for sure.
Yeah.
I just realized that I didn't graduate, for everyone watching at home, but if I did graduate, it would have been 2013.
You didn't graduate high school.
You didn't even go to college.
I know, but you went through, but yeah, you didn't graduate high school. That's when you left. You dropped out.
I dropped out middle of 12th grade. I've never to this day stepped foot on a campus. I've been on a soccer field of a campus, so maybe I've stepped foot, but like walked through halls or whatever you do, I've never done that.
In high school?
No, college.
Oh, college. I was like, wait, what?
No, so high school I dropped out. Where was I going with this one?
Okay, well, hold on. Before I get back to my other question, I just need to know this. When you dropped out, it was right before you were about to graduate, right?
Precisely.
Why?
Oh, there's so many questions.
Okay, let's answer that one and then I'll go back to what I just asked you because I'm really curious.
My parents have always taught me, and I've always known that school is to get an education for a brighter future. At the time, I already knew what I wanted to do, my future.
Okay.
And it didn't entail school. So I switched to a school where I could just get the credits done. And then YouTube was picking up and I was like doing more of the stuff I really wanted to do and I was like passionate about. So I just kind of like left school. I just didn't even go back.
Okay, so you just were so sure in what you wanted to do.
Yeah, I took a huge risk.
Because you were already doing YouTube at this point. You were doing
Yeah.
it for what, like probably 4 years, and you were just like, I want to be an actor. I want to pursue that.
I knew what I wanted to do. It was a huge risk, but like I knew I wanted to take the risk.
Yeah. All right.
That's the short answer of that.
Well, I guess I never knew that. So that's actually really interesting.
Yeah.
But back to like what I was saying was you entered high school. You were starting YouTube. Do you think the way you saw yourself before starting it, I guess, changed once you started it? Like having that audience on you, or was it once you've been on it for already a couple of years that you're like, no, now my self-esteem might be on the line?
My self-esteem back then was really bad because I had anxiety in high school pretty bad.
Okay.
And like I went to public school, so public school is just like ruthless regardless. They'll for sure give you your opinion, their opinion. And I was like doing YouTube, so people were like making fun of me for YouTube, making fun of me for being short. I was 4'11" until like 9th grade. I was under 5 foot.
So you got bullied for it? Because in my high school, anytime anyone mentioned like something about YouTube or social media, they would get ripped apart.
Not necessarily bullied. I wasn't like, beat up for making YouTube, but I was that YouTube kid.
So they kind of picked on you a little bit.
Yeah, for just being like that YouTube kid. But
okay.
Maybe that's another reason why I left school. I just didn't want to deal with them. But then I was in my impressionable days, and like fast forward to, being 18, 19, 20, 21, I felt like I needed to come out here and be somebody. I needed to be like this big shining bright star because people were going to parties, people were going out to clubs and drinking and doing all these things. And growing up, I was never into that, but like living here and doing YouTube, I was more of like, okay, I need to follow what's cool, who's cool. Nowadays, I don't feel the need to do that. Nowadays, I feel like I have more self-love. And nowadays, I feel like I love myself more to, find out who I truly am and not worry about going to buy $1,000 bottle at Hyde. That's
actually like a really cool thing to think about, is like following the crowds, feeling like you have to like go to clubs and do all that stuff. Like that's not really a form of self-love. That's just like figuring yourself out and like trying to be like involved.
That's filling a void.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
A void that is missing.
I felt like something necessarily wasn't missing, but there was something that had a big question mark over it.
Yeah.
Maybe it was like something that I didn't know, like a door that was unopened. Maybe it wasn't missing, but I just didn't know it was there. And I opened the door to that realm and I tried to fill something. And then like, I would say recently, probably like the past 2 or 3 years, maybe like a little bit before COVID, I closed that door and I was like, I want to be who I am. I want to figure out who I am and like dive deep.
So you really found your self-love kind of recently. Would you say then when you were younger, because when you were younger, you were trying to chase something, trying to fit in, you were getting picked on, you didn't feel the greatest about yourself?
It's a different type of self-love. It's, I'm sure it'll change when I'm older as well, but I think the self-love now is just like me being who I am, figuring out what I want to do and not having to fill that void, with drinking or going to some party and staying out till 4 a.m. or getting these nice, cool cars or like, spending money to make people think I'm rich or do all these things, I've found that self-love to like treat myself to the stuff I want to do and be who I want to be and do the things I want to do with my close group of friends, which I've had forever. Like I've known you forever. Like I've always kept it close. And like, I think right at that point in my life where I like started to keep everything close is when I started to feel that self-love.
I mean, it is crazy because, I mean, even me, like when I moved to LA, it was hard. I feel like I was comparing myself to every single person that...
It's so easy to do that. And you, like, it's so toxic at the same time.
I feel like, because I would say LA is a place, there's so many beautiful people here. There's so many trends to keep up with that, you know, I went through it. Like, I went really through it, I want to say. I feel like recently, just like a year ago is when I really was like, wow, I think I am genuinely like love myself over 50% now.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, because you get a bird's eye view on yourself.
Yeah.
Instead of being so consumed by the fancy cars or the parties or these things, you kind of like take a step back and you look at yourself and you're like, that's not who I am. You're like, I don't want to be that person.
100%.
I want to be this person. It's such a strong switch, and I feel like, you know, it's up here somewhere.
Yeah.
And once you do it, it like opens up a whole new world, I think.
And when you moved to LA, you were part of O2L, a YouTube group, I guess you could say, right?
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people want to call it something different, but I would say just a YouTube group.
So you were part of O2L, and how old were you when you moved in with them? 18?
I would say 18, maybe 17.
You guys all lived in a house, right?
Me, JC, Connor, and Ricky.
That's pretty crazy. I mean, I didn't know you.
In a one bedroom. In like something.
Wait, what? In a one bedroom?
Oh, it was bad.
Was it an apartment?
Gnarly.
I didn't know that.
It was on UCLA, not campus, but it was near UCLA.
Damn.
Never been on campus. I don't think. I don't think. But yeah, it was a one bedroom.
Yeah.
Connor and Ricky split the bedroom, and JC and I were out on the floor and the couch in the living room. And the living room was smaller than this room.
How long were you guys in that apartment for?
6 months, maybe like 4 to 6 months.
Wow, that's crazy. I did not know that. I thought you guys like moved into like a massive house right away.
Well, no, because that was the start of YouTube. So like back then there was no YouTubers. It was like us that lived in LA. Every YouTuber that was there was like, there was a handful of YouTubers, but they still were like in their hometown. Yeah, we weren't making money. Like we weren't making that much money. It was the start.
So it was just it was the very beginning.
It was the saving. It was like the saving our pennies kind of time.
So, you know, being in that group with those guys, was there ever a moment where you were comparing yourselves to them? Or were you guys very much in your lane and you guys each had your own thing going?
I mean, yeah, there was like a little comparing, but it was never like, you know, I want to be better than you because I feel like you're better than me, and like I want to chase this because you're doing it. It was like a good level of competitiveness. Like you're doing good, I want to do just as good. Like I want to kind of like be in that circle and like go forward together. But like I said, we're all doing O2L together, and it was never like, oh, I want my video to be better than.
So you guys were supportive of each other.
Very
no
supportive.
Matter what.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great.
It wasn't like a cutthroat thing where it was like, I think that would have thrown off the stability that we had in the group, because that group went for so long that like I think it was only based off of, you know, like our friendship and the stability that we had being in it.
That makes sense. And how long were you guys like a group for again?
See, I don't know all these dates and stuff, but for sure a couple years, maybe like 2.5 years.
Okay,
maybe.
That's a pretty good amount of time to be.
Maybe though.
Living with a group of people. You're like,
maybe it was like
no.
Maybe it was like it was so long ago. It was like 2000. Dude, I don't even know. What was O2L?
Yeah, I didn't subscribe.
Did you?
No, I didn't know what O2L was until I met you and JC as like a duo. I've never heard of O2L.
See, that was 2015 when we started. We ended in 2015. I think it was like 2.5 years.
You know, ventured off to be a duo with JC. What was that transition like? Was JC always like your bud, or was it like you just felt like you guys bantered the best, or?
Yeah, I think JC and I had like the most chemistry.
Okay.
Although I had really good chemistry with all the other guys, like, you know, me and JC I feel like we were on the same wavelength. Like we want to do the same thing. So we kind of knew O2L was going to come to an end after Connor left. Like it was just a different dynamic.
Okay.
There was like a hole that we needed to fill. We didn't know if we were going to fill it with, you know, a new guest or a surprise guest every week, or like what we were going to do. So eventually we knew that O2L was going to end and we wanted to do something together.
Do you think it was easier going from like a big group of people to just like working with one, or do you think it is easier to be with like, you know, a couple more hands?
I would say it's easier to be in the duo thing because we do everything together. Although it was fairly simple to do it in O2L just because we only had one day.
Yeah.
But each day that we did, we had to think of everything ourselves and like edit it ourselves. So with KJ, it's split.
Yeah.
So I would say
easier.
I would say KJ was a little easier getting into.
JC is one of your BFFs, right?
Love him. Love that
I mean,
guy.
I personally think you guys are funny together. It's funny because I didn't know about you guys until like I met you guys. And then I was like, wow, they're actually like really, I didn't know this side of YouTube existed.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. It was really interesting for me because I was into the beauty world. I wasn't into like
The
fun.
gurus?
The
Like
beauty
the makeup
gurus.
people?
Yeah. That's
yeah.
like the side I was into. So when I
Yeah, I was into the makeup gurus as well.
so when I entered your realm of YouTube, I was like, wow, this is actually entertaining.
Yeah. I met you in 2016, I think.
Oh no, mid 2015.
15?
2015, yeah.
At the DeVista house?
The
Like
wa-
up in the hills
No,
kind of thing?
Alomar.
That was 2016.
Was it?
Yeah.
Would you say that your self-love was different between starting YouTube up until O2L, or do you think it kind of was better when you were younger, or do you think it was?
I didn't really know self-love existed when I was that young because I was not thrown into O2L, but I started O2L
At a young age.
at a young age. So
Yeah.
like at that point I was worried about like, you know, what I was getting for Christmas. You know, I didn't really know what self-love was back then.
I totally understand what you mean. At that age, you're kind of just thinking about what you're eating for lunch,
I
right?
was just going to say what's for breakfast the next day. I was just going to say that.
But was there ever like moments, I don't know if it's, I guess easy to try to remember something like this, but, being that age and like looking at yourself and being like, I wish I looked a little different, or I wish I did this differently.
I wasn't really thinking that back then. Like I said at the beginning of the show, I think my self-love now was different than what it was 6 years ago, and it'll be different in another 10 years than what it is now. So back in the day when I was like still in school transitioning into YouTube, it was different, if anything, like not even there.
Okay, so
I wasn't worried about it.
Okay, so you would say that social media, I guess,
Made
was
me realize.
was a massive, realization and influence on that.
That
Because
you-
I feel like up until then you were like, I do love myself. I'm not even thinking about anything wrong with
For
me.
sure. Social media that made me realize that it's something that you have to prioritize.
You started social media at 14, right? But you said you also knew you wanted to be an actor.
Yeah.
Was it always acting, or was it, okay, I'm gonna do social media and then acting came about?
Kindergarten, we made like a little book in kindergarten. It's like, how old are you? What do you want to be when you grow older? Blah, 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 all of these things. It said policeman in kindergarten.
Policeman, I love that.
Or no, policeman in kindergarten. Policeman
Oh,
and an
actor.
actor. Policeman and actor. So I've always wanted to be an actor, but I think social media was just like a passing of time until I got to that point.
When you got into it, were you like, oh, like I'm gonna use this as like a stepping stone into my acting?
Oh, for sure. It
Okay,
was
so that was
used as like
always-
a trampoline.
Okay,
kind of thing.
yeah. So you always thought that in the back of your head.
Not I'm gonna use this as to like get there, but I'm gonna, I guess, use this. But it wasn't like, that wasn't why I started YouTube. I
Okay.
started YouTube just out of curiosity, but it for sure helped.
So when you started YouTube, was it like skits and stuff that had to do with acting, or was it just like you being like funny on the camera?
I think it's being funny. Back in the day when I started YouTube, I was doing music videos.
Oh, okay.
I would take.
I
like,
didn't know that.
Don't even look it up. It's the most embarrassing. There's JC's in some of them. I would take a song and would speed it up so it didn't get copyright matched, and we would do like stop motion animation. So for
Oh,
like
yeah, those are the videos you used to do with like Bria, right? With the little
yes.
with the little signs or the lyrics on the paper.
She would do those. I would do
okay.
like, so what's a big song? Like Baby by Justin Bieber.
Okay.
It would go, baby, baby, baby. And I would go, baby, baby. So in the thing, I was like, baby, baby, baby. Oh, it is very, very, very embarrassing.
Was it like something that you just came up with, or did you see someone else do it and you're like, I want to do that?
Ricky Dillon.
Really?
Ricky
I
Dillon was.
didn't know Ricky did that.
Ricky Dillon was like
I
the
love
king
that.
of those YouTube videos. Still is the king.
Wow. So then you after doing that for a year, you're like, all right, let's
Yeah, because
transition to something different.
a new dude. Yeah, at some point I was like, okay, I can't keep doing this when I'm older.
Well, because you and JC used to do
JC
skits, right? Like when
Like
you guys
2015,
lived.
yeah.
Would you say that was your favorite era of K and J because you got to do more acting in it, or was it's just different for every? I feel like you guys go through different types of content, which is really cool.
I mean, yeah, they were fun, but I think YouTube comes with like waves, or it comes with like,
Yeah.
it just comes and goes in waves. Like it comes with, different things to do and whatever. So we're following trends. It comes
Trends,
with trends.
yeah,
So
yeah.
JC and I were just kind of like following trends. But during the skit eras, those were really, really fun.
What is it, Kyle and Kyle?
Kyle and Kyle with the wigs. Then we did some like hillbilly people.
Those are honestly
like,
my favorites.
girls.
It's so funny.
That is not the trend these days. If we uploaded some Kyle and Kyle stuff, I think it would get like 10 views max.
I loved your videos where you guys would go out to you guys would go out in public and like talk to people in like funny voices.
And gibberish?
Yeah.
Yeah, see,
that's
another trend. I feel like if we uploaded that these days, it would just like wouldn't do as well. But
were you ever, honestly, this is something that I've noticed about you that I want to say am very impressed with. I guess like look up to you in a sense is that you are like, you don't care about what people think about you. Like I could never go up to a stranger and talk gibberish to them and put a microphone in their face. Were you ever
Whoa.
oh my God, I'm so embarrassed. I have horrible secondhand embarrassment, but you like don't care. Like you'll like go up to a random person, you'll be, yeah. And then I'm like, what? And I get embarrassed for you.
If you were to follow me around right now and go do it, I probably wouldn't have done it the same way. But it's easy to do it when I have another idiot right by my side.
Okay.
When JC was doing the same shit as me, I was like, okay, I have to one up what you just did.
Okay.
If you just to like send me like vlogging myself doing it, in no planet would I do that. In no universe would I go do that. That is way too scary. Yeah, I had to make him laugh.
Okay.
I had to make him laugh and I had to like one up what he just did. You know, like I said, if I did it alone, it would never be.
Because I'm going to be honest, I don't really know a lot of people that would do that.
Same.
So
absolutely same.
I would say that's a very a confident thing to do. I don't even know if confident is the word.
I don't think it's confidence either.
But do you know what I mean?
Like,
it's like a very, like, you got to be really...
The don't care attitude.
Yeah, exactly. And that's something that I actually love about you, is that you will do whatever and you will say, like, you just don't care because, like, you're like, oh, this is what I want to do. I don't care. And, like, you don't care what people think about you, is I guess what I'm trying to say. You
said that, and that's what made me, like, kind of... I do care what people think about me to a certain extent. Everyone has their own, like, fine line. But when it comes to strangers on Hollywood Boulevard... where there's a fucking fat Spider-Man running around charging $20 for a picture. Dude, I do not care. I do not care. When it comes to like my family or my friends or like my girlfriend or someone, like I try to, you know, I care what people think, you know.
Yeah, when you're like, when you're acting just normal, you're like, I don't want people to think
Yeah, I'm some weirdo. I'm not in this interview talking gibberish to you, you know what I mean? Like I care what, you know.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to Hollywood Boulevard, dude, yeah, I for sure. I'd do it again in a heartbeat. With JC, not by myself.
Not by yourself. Speaking of girlfriends.
Yep.
Yep. What are you going to say?
I need more wine there.
Speaking of girlfriends, you've been in a lot of public relationships, I'd say. Have all of your relationships been public? I don't know.
I've only had 3 girlfriends.
Okay. So they've been public. Would you say relationships, especially having them online, put some sort of pressure on the way you saw yourself or the relationship?
No, I think it all comes down to like who you are as a person. And like I was saying about that like switch, once you switch it in your mind, I feel like it's easy to navigate or more easy to navigate or, you know, but I don't think anything like from my relationships made me feel like I needed to find self-love. You know, after every relationship, I feel like I go into this period where focus on myself kind of thing, which helped. So necessarily it wasn't the relationship, I would say it was the breakup of that relationship, if that makes any sense.
Like the breakup was harder online? Like publicly
no,
or
it
just in
was,
general?
It was easier to go into a point to like focus on myself.
Oh, after the breakup.
So it wasn't like the relationship itself, it was kind of like the period after of being in the relationship.
Is what made you have that growth.
For 100%. Yes.
Oh, I agree for sure.
And I think it's like, I think a lot of people can agree to that or attest to that. It's like after a relationship, it's finding yourself, you know, is more of like a priority. Because you spend so much time with that person that like, you know, after it's kind of easy to just kind of get into
yourself.
You for sure.
Yeah. Would you consider yourself more of like a relationship guy? Like you love that love and affection?
I would say at this point, I'm more of like a relationship guy. Someone to come home to, someone to like cuddle, someone to rub your back, someone to talk to, someone to like share your, you know, life with, someone to share your problems with, share your achievements and all these things. I'm more of a relationship guy, I think.
Because I mean, I feel like in relationships,
you're not spreading yourself too thin.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, I feel like in relationships too. I mean, I think for me personally, I struggled with the self-love category in relationships, and I understand where you're coming from, that after the breakup is when the growth happened.
It's the growth period.
Yeah, for sure. You being as confident as you are, do you feel like being vulnerable in a relationship is hard for you?
I want to say no, but yes, I am super vulnerable in a relationship. I feel like I'm like, I wear my heart on my sleeve kind of thing. So like if something's bothering me, I'm super open to like talking about it, or super open to like talking about my feelings. And if anything, I think being vulnerable is like helpful because you're being honest in a relationship. Being vulnerable means being open, and being open, I think, usually means being honest.
I love that answer.
Yeah. I mean, not all the time am I just ready, like on a dime to, you know, spill everything out. But I would say for the most part, I'm vulnerable.
Yeah, and I feel like also that comes with the partner that you have. You know, you chose you chose the partner that you have for a reason, because you know you can be vulnerable and that you can open up, even in those moments where you're like, I want to be prideful and I want to
hold my feelings in. Yeah, absolutely.
And like, you know that no matter what, you are with this person because they understand you, they get you. And
yeah, with the honesty, there's like a trust thing as well from, you know, your partner. And for me with Ayla, like I trust her with my whole life. So I feel like being open and being vulnerable and honest and stuff is, you know, so easy.
Do you think it got easier being in the public eye in a relationship as like you went on to different relationships? Because I didn't know if it was like difficult the first time around, or you feel like it was maybe easier the first time around?
I would say just less pressure. Okay. But I think being on YouTube for so long, I've found a way to navigate through the social media life. So like what I want to keep private is kept private, and what I want to, you know, put out there is put out there. Because I've just been in the public, you know. I've been doing YouTube since 2010, 2011.
Yeah.
So
you're just kind of used to it.
It's easier to navigate. I wouldn't say easier in general, but
because
I want to hear more about you. I feel like every question has been only about me. I want to, every time
we do this for another hour, you asking me questions.
Yeah, that's gonna be on Patreon. Who knows?
Yeah, and I think for me, I started doing YouTube when I was, well, I think 20. So I was already a little older, and then, you know, being in a public relationship, going through a breakup publicly, it's like I never want to do that ever again.
Yeah, yours is pretty public.
Yeah,
I saw the TikTok vids.
Yeah, so like I don't want to, I guess, put myself through that again. So for me, and nothing against people that do publicly post their relationships, I think for me personally, for my mental health, I just don't know if I'll ever publicly post a relationship unless I'm engaged or getting married.
And you know what that is? That's self-love.
True.
That's self-love. You know what's best for you, and you're keeping that true to yourself. You're not doing something for any other person. You're doing it for you. So
100%.
In the future, you're going to keep it private because that's what's going to make you feel more comfortable and more, you know, secure. I think that's self-love right there.
And on that note...
Really?
Kian wants to take over real quick.
I want her to open up a little bit. I want to go above the surface level.
Okay.
For the second time now, I've said that. Okay, Franny, now that my interview is done, do you love yourself?
I will say that I love myself more than I did a year ago.
Why specifically a year ago?
Back to my breakup. I feel like, you know, during that breakup, I was a puddle of a human being. I feel like I completely lost myself. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know who I was. My whole life was that relationship, which is not healthy at all. But that's what I feel like a first love is. You know, when you go through a first love, you are like, oh my God, like
you get lost.
Yeah, like
for sure.
I love this person and I want to give them everything and more. And that was me in that relationship. And I lost myself, and it definitely did put a toll on the relationship and afterwards too, because when we broke up, it was like, that was it. I was like, I had my hands up in the air.
Absolutely,
you know? Yeah, I went through a lot of growth in the last, I want to say, year and a half. And I definitely love myself way more than ever before, honestly.
So you went through that period after the relationship, like I was saying a little bit ago, like that growth period of like the self, like finding yourself. When you said lost, I feel that same feeling, or I've felt that same feeling of like when I was a kid in the grocery store, and I'd be like, there's like a little sample, and I'm like, and you turn around and you're like, Mom, in a whole grocery store, it's just like endless, and you're like, oh my God, where am I? Because you get so lost in like what you want to do
One
right
little
then
thing,
and there.
yeah.
Yeah, and then boom, it's just like you're left on your own. You're like, oh shit, I don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
I don't know how to navigate anything. I don't even know where I am.
No, it literally felt like my world ended. And now looking back at it, I can't be hard on myself because I didn't know any better. You know, like I said, when you go through your first love, it's insane love. It's a love you'll never, I feel like, feel again.
That's crazy.
It's just a crazy love,
Absolutely.
right? So, you know, feeling that and then, you know, having that taken away from me, it was an insane feeling. I can't even explain to you how I felt in that moment. But all I know is that everything happens for a reason, and I don't think if I ever went through that, I would be where I'm at now.
Doing the show with one of the funniest people you've ever met.
But it's true. I think about it. I'm like, wow, that was probably one of the worst moments of my life. But if that didn't happen, I wouldn't be as confident as I am now.
For sure.
I wouldn't be working on the things that I'm working on now. So I always find, like, I guess the silver lining in things.
Yeah, it's not always about like staying positive. Like you can stay positive in any situation, but like making a bad situation, turning it into a good situation, or even a learning, you know, like somewhere where you can like learn. I think that's a positive.
Yeah.
You know, you got to learn more about yourself, and you got to like find out who you were and love yourself more. And like you said, you want to be here, you know, doing what you're doing or where you're at without that growth.
So I always, that's why I'm such a believer. Everything happens for a reason.
Absolutely.
And I think when you find the beauty in the hard times, just makes you love yourself more. Like, wow, I went through that. My mental health.
Yeah, you're capable of doing
that.
Like you're strong enough to do something like that.
Yeah, you go through those things and you're like, wow, I'm good now.
And look at me now.
And look at me now.
Absolutely stronger than ever. I agree. I can't agree more.
Actually, question for you.
Let's keep it going.
But it's a question about me to you. So.
Okay.
I'm actually curious because I've known you for a while. Do you feel like you've actually seen my self-growth? Because I'm actually curious, like when other people see me, like the way I carry myself, because sometimes I don't really notice, right? I'm like, I feel like I go through the motions of the day and I feel like I've made a lot of growth, but I don't know if people notice that as often as like I do. I don't know. Or
I think more people will notice it more than you. I've noticed it a huge amount.
Okay, so you have.
Because I've lived with you, you know, in the past. I've known you since 2016. Like, we've been through it. Okay, girl, we've been through it. So I know, maybe not at your lowest, but I've seen you low. I've seen you high. I've seen you like coasting. I've seen you at all your, you know, stages in life. And you can tell by like some of the Instagram posts. You can tell by the way you talk. You can tell but you could tell by the way you like portray yourself. You can just tell by like your aura. And there's been, you know, a certain time where like you just weren't reaching out as much, or you weren't like involved as much. You were kind of like lost, or you were somewhere else, you know. But, you know, for sure over the past year, I've seen a huge growth. I think like you were like a little seedling before, like you were something, and like the, you know, the flower you are today, I think is unbelievably noticeable. So I think if anything, people see it more than you see it yourself. Yeah. Because you see it day to day. The people who don't see you day to day, they see you once a week or once every, you know, party or whatever. They see you and they're like, oh my God, whoa, Franny, you look so vibrant, or like you're so happy, or whatever. I think, you know, more people see it than you realize.
No, I mean, that's good to know, because I feel it, and then sometimes I wonder, I'm like, damn, do people like notice the improvement I've made, or like the amount of self-work I've put in? But that's good to know that you've noticed, because I've known you for a while.
As long as you feel it.
I guess it doesn't matter what anyone thinks.
And that's the point right there. Don't care what anyone thinks.
I'm like, even if you said, honestly, you're
the same. Like, honestly, no, not really.
You're the same person that I knew 6-7 years ago when I met you. I'm like, wow, that's really sad. Yeah. But I guess it doesn't matter.
It sucks.
Yeah, that sucks.
I think it's obvious. I have anxiety, and like I've been through a lot in my life, and like friendships, relationships, real life stuff, family, yada yada yada. So easy to get lost and like be sad, or like get down on yourself, or like, you know, throw a little pity party. What I've realized is you can't choose to be happy. You can't just choose to be happy. Like, oh, I'm sad. Oh, never mind, I'm happy. Can't choose to be happy. But you can choose to stay positive. And that'll lead to happiness eventually. So you can't choose to be happy, but you can choose to stay positive.
Stay positive.
I've
never heard that, but I love that.
Came up with it.
Oh.
Yeah. What about you? Do you have
I
one?
think mine is, this is actually something I've wanted to get tattooed on me, but I don't think I'm going to.
Ooh, it's that serious. Okay.
I've lived by this since I think I was, I want to say like 12 or something. Basically, it's a quote I think I saw on like Tumblr once, a long time ago.
Yeah.
But it was, God gives his hardest battles to his strongest soldiers.
I like that.
I always am a believer that every battle that I'm going through, I'm meant to be in it because I can handle it.
You're strong enough.
You know, every situation you're ever in, you're meant to be there and you're
sure.
meant to push through it and get past it.
Absolutely.
Without, you know, losing it, I guess.
I like that a lot, actually. I have another one. It's out after you said the tattoo. I have one tattooed on me, but it's more of like a productivity, to be productive.
Okay.
It's in Spanish.
Oh, okay.
Can you read that? It's like,
No dejes para mañana lo que puedes hacer hoy.
yeah,
Well, don't wait till tomorrow.
to do what you can do today.
Yeah, what you can do today.
Yeah, it's more of like for, you know, to be productive, but it's like, don't wait. You know, don't get me wrong, I have like New Year's resolutions and stuff, but for the people who make their New Year's resolution to do something, like I'm gonna work out on January 1st. So on December 31st, I'm gonna eat nothing but donuts and get it out of my system. It's like,
Just start now.
put the donuts down and just do it now, you know?
The donuts down.
So I think in that general sense, it's like, don't wait for tomorrow for something you can just do right now.
Well, Kian, you were such a joy. No, I'm
Thank you.
kidding. You were honestly an amazing guest. I
you.
loved this conversation.
I did too. I never get to talk to you like this.
I literally have said that already with the other guest that I was like, oh my God, I don't have conversations like this with my friends.
It's so nice. It's so
Yeah.
nice because, you know, I'm not going to say
I'm
like,
glad.
oh, in LA, but it's like, you never really get to have these conversations unless it's like a planned thing. But it's like, I think we should do this more often. Open up as a friend group. I think
Yeah.
for any friend group out there, opening up is, you know, make you
Yeah.
stronger, or you and your relationship, or you and your, you know, your
Yeah,
family.
you're doing good. But
I think this is really nice.
well, thank you, Kian, for getting over the surface with me, getting into some deep combos, and I guess let's just cheers to that.
Cheers to friendship. Cheers to self-love.
Woo! Cheers to self-love. All right, let's get out of here.
Oh my God, let's do it. Let's polish out the rest of the wine.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, I was a weird kid. I was very shy, very weird, no friends. I had,
Okay,
like,
so you were more like to yourself.
yeah, I didn't want to be to myself. I wanted friends. I think it all has to do with like my upbringing. I'm so pissed that I didn't get to experience what I'm experiencing now, the first 20 years of my life. Yeah, so I feel like I missed like half of my life.
You loving yourself more just kept going up? Or did you ever feel like there was a point where you're like, oh my God, this is so great, and then you kind of like fell back down from that?
And it was funny because I loved myself the most when I was in the worst shape of my life. I looked like shit. I was always scraggly, no haircut. I looked homeless. Lately, it's been more I'm posting if I like something or not. I wish I could post more. I feel like my brain is just so just exhausted.